What if every piece of content you created helps sell your products or programs? What if that could be done without pitching and selling all the time? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how. First, you need to define your content pillars. So have you defined an overarching signature system or methodology for your expert business? That is the high-level phases or steps you use to create a transformation or outcome for your customers. Doing so is critical for aligning everything in your business. It's one of the first things we do with clients in our Solo to Virtual CEO program. See what I did just there? This is valuable because it helps answer a lot of questions creators and solopreneurs get bogged down with, like what content should I create? What should I write about? What should be in my course? So here's an example. Say you're a fitness expert. As you think about everything someone needs for a transformation from unhealthy to healthy, maybe your pillars would be, mindset, the keto diet, resistance training, or high intensity cardio training. In my case, the transformation I help provide is people that want to build and run their own expert businesses, taking them from solo to successful virtual CEO. My pillars, which are the things I believe are critical for success, are strategy, systems, tools, and team. Once you have your pillars defined, it gets much easier to plan content and lead magnets and your products. The next step is to take each pillar and generate content ideas. So how do you do that? Use this simple list. Think about your particular pillar. So like with mine, it could be systems. So you can basically go into ChatGPT or AI of your choice and say, give me the top questions my ideal customer has about whatever your pillar is. So top questions about systems, top challenges with systems, top struggles with systemizing your business, top strategies for systemizing your business, top tools for systemizing. You get the idea. Top questions, challenges, struggles, strategies, tools, any of those categories like questions, challenges, struggles, and so forth with your pillar in them are going to come back with a really interesting set of topic ideas for you to think about. Now, whether you list those yourselves or use AI to help as we do in our content planner, you'll quickly get dozens or hundreds of content ideas that are automatically aligned to your pillars and your business goals. In our Content Engine program, we go into much more depth on additional topic types and aligning to the stages of the buyer's journey, but the list that I've just went through is a good starting point. Now, again, just there was an example of mentioning a paid program or building awareness for it without being overly salesy. 2 times just in context of this video, I've mentioned our paid programs. That's the way that you can start building some awareness without turning every video into a video sales letter or a big pitch for your program. You just mention, hey, this is what we do in there. This is a result somebody gets in this program. And as long as it's woven into your content naturally, it builds that awareness, gets people interested in it, but without being overly salesy. Now, in your content strategy, you would generally pick a pillar for a given week or month and draw from your ideas list for the given pillar. I like to focus each content piece on just one pillar. 95% of the time, each content piece should have that single focus. This helps keep your content tight and focused. Occasionally, you may do an overview of all your pillars, like a definitive guide or something like that, but most of the time, pick a pillar, pick one of your content ideas, and focus down on it. You'd then rotate through your pillars over a couple of weeks or a couple months. A big mistake many creators make, myself included, is trying to address every topic and every level of your audience in the same piece of content. Instead, keep it focused and useful. Within all your content, it is more than okay to mention your paid programs. Most of the time, you want it to be casual, like I mentioned. Just to mention that a more comprehensive approach or program exists. No links, no call to action, just a mention. That plants the seed in your reader or viewer's mind that there is more available. Now, when you are in more of a launch mode or a promotion phase, it's perfectly fine to put a more direct pitch in, but think 10% of the time or less for your public content. Instead, what we want to do is we want to create useful next steps for the person to take after consuming the content. This is where the idea of lead magnets comes in. For each pillar, we like to create a lead magnet that addresses one of the biggest challenges or struggles. Why? Because we want our content to accomplish 2 goals at all times. First, actually help the reader or the viewer just with the content itself. And then second, convert them to a lead by getting them to opt into something to get even more value. The more aligned your lead magnet is with the topic of your content, the better the conversions will be. That's why we suggest 1 per pillar, since all of your content will roll up to a given pillar. The lead magnet should also align with one of your paid programs. An ideal lead magnet solves one problem for your ideal customer while making them aware of the other problems you solve. So earlier, I mentioned our content planner lead magnet. Let's see if that meets the 2 requirements. First, does it actually help people? Yes, we've received great feedback that it's helping people quickly put together an excellent content plan for their business. Thousands of people have opted into it. Does it make them aware of the other problems that our paid programs help with? Yes, we offer done-for-you editing, repurposing, and posting. Once someone has a backlog of a lot of content ideas that they want to create, which is the result of the planning process, that introduces the next problem we help solve, getting all that content created. Other examples of good lead magnets are 3 to 7 day email courses. You can cover more challenges and open more loops for the next set of topics that your program addresses. Next is you need to use the right calls to action. When you have a solid lead magnet for a given pillar, you want to make sure to include it as the call to action for any content related to that pillar. So in my example, anytime we're talking about strategy, one of my pillars, and content, one element of the pillar, we have the planner lead magnet as our call to action. In another one of my pillars, the team pillar, one of our lead magnets is a team assessment quiz. If I were creating a content piece about fractional teams for solopreneurs, it wouldn't make sense for my call to action to be the planner. It wouldn't be aligned. Instead, a team assessment quiz is aligned, so it will convert a lot better for that piece of content. The key to a good call to action is first delivering real value in your content. Solve something for the reader. Then it is fine and even appreciated when you offer them a lead magnet that will deliver even more value. Finally, you want to follow up after the opt-in. Once people have opted into your lead magnet for one pillar, in your follow-up sequences, you can introduce the other pillars, which will demonstrate your comprehensive coverage of whatever your niche is. You can also begin mentioning and more directly promoting your paid programs. When your pillars are embedded across all of those elements and your audience sees all the different pieces aligned to them, it generates the know, like, and trust factor that's required for a sale. So here's how to take action. If you haven't already, grab our free revenue generating content planner and use it to define your pillars and content ideas. Organize what you teach or provide into 3 to 7 pillars. For each pillar, generate lists of the most important problems, challenges, and questions your ideal customers have. In the planner, we have all the AI prompts for that. In each piece of content you create, speak to one pillar and one topic. Then for each pillar, create a lead magnet that addresses the biggest challenge. In each piece, simply mention without pitching that the topic is covered in depth in your course, your program, or your coaching. And in each piece, make sure your call to action is the lead magnet for the relevant pillar. Now that you know what type of content to create to move the needle on sales, next you need to know how to design your content for repurposing to get the most ROI from your time. You can learn how to do that in this video, and if you want help putting a full content engine in place in your business, check the links below this video.